Right, let's get ready to rumble, eh? Let's get ready to rumble. All right, so look, Donald Cerrone sat down and spoke to Brett Okamoto a couple of days ago. And in that interview, Donald Cerrone said that on fight night, Donald Cerrone showed up and not Cowboy. And he just felt flat. He didn't feel himself. In fact, he said the wrong guy showed up. So the civilian version of himself turned up, not the fighter version of himself. Those are my words. That's not what he said, but that's what I kind of took away from it. And that kind of caused a very slight stir when it comes to MMA news. At the time, I didn't really feel strong enough about it to make a video about it, because it didn't surprise me, him saying that. Not only did it not surprise me, it didn't stir a strong enough opinion in me to make me want to sit down and record a video about it, because I didn't have anything to add to it. I wasn't surprised, and it kind of just made sense what he was saying. The reason why I'm making this video is because I was listening to Ariel Helwani's podcast earlier on today, and I was surprised that during the podcast, Ariel Helwani chose to to basically say that anyone that disagreed with Ariel Helwani around the time of the fight, saying that Cowboy didn't turn up, Cerrone didn't turn up, they owe him and Stephen A. Smith an apology. I found that incredibly strange, and I'll explain why. Look, I can estimate that I've probably spent, if you add up all of the time I've spent in my life watching and listening to Ariel Helwani's content, all of the different shows that he's been on, etc., I can easily say that I've probably spent over a month of my life listening and watching to Ariel Helwani. And the reason that is because I think he's good at what he does. I'm a fan of Ariel Helwani's, and I think he's a very good reporter, journalist, personality, whatever it is that you want to call him. I think he's good. Do you know what I mean? I like him. I've made a couple of videos about MMA journalists on this channel since I've been doing this, and I don't think I've ever expressed a negative view on Ariel Helwani. And this is the first time I'm going to do it. And the reason I'm going to do it is I just think it's very petty and it's very self-indulgent that he's decided to take this interview of Donald Cerrone's and use it as a tool to kind of insert himself into the situation. Does that make sense? The reason I say this is because well, there's a couple of reasons. Firstly, during all of the hullabaloo, I've never used that word before. I don't know why I used it now. But during that time in January, after that fight, when Stephen A. Smith made his comments, and a lot of people had a lot to say about Stephen A. Smith, I don't remember anyone sending for Ariel Helwani. I don't remember anyone saying anything negative about Ariel Helwani's opinions. Now, obviously, I don't go through his mentions. I don't go through his responses on Twitter with a fine-tooth comb, so I'm sure some people have said some things. But when you've got hundreds of thousands of followers, no matter what you tweet or whatever opinion you share, someone's going to have something to say about it. That's just the nature of the beast. The general consensus around what Ariel Helwani said, it was basically what we all thought and what we all said as MMA fans. Do you know what I mean? Like, before the fight, everyone was basically saying that Donald Cerrone on his night is a very, very, very dangerous man. However, he is a slow starter, and whenever he's hit the big stage, he's come short. And this is probably one of the biggest fights in his career, and there's an opportunity that he might come short again. And that's what happened. And that's effectively what I believe the opinion that Ariel Helwani shared before the fight and after the fight. So he may have said that Donald Cerrone didn't show up. I find it strange that he's inserting himself into a conversation that was had around Stephen A. Smith and his reaction to Cowboy and his reaction to the performance that Cowboy put in. Do you know what I mean? And to go one step beyond that, the reason why I'm making this video is I think Ariel Helwani is an intelligent man. He's an intelligent man where he can read between the lines. When he can read between the lines when it comes to MMA fighters and what they say and how they say it during interviews. And he can see the nuances in what they're saying. And I'm surprised he hasn't sat there and thought to himself, hold on a minute, Donald Cerrone is having this interview literally a week before he fights Pettis. And the most kind of you don't have to be a super fan of MMA or any combat sport for that matter to know that when a fighter loses a fight, they have to find ways to justify that loss to themselves. And this is the way that Donald Cerrone is choosing to justify this loss to himself a week before he steps back in the octagon to fight Pettis, which again is a dangerous fight. So I'm surprised that Ariel Helwani hasn't looked at the timing of this interview, at the timing of him. Like, this is a time where Donald Cerrone has to be at the peak of his confidence. He has to be mentally ready for a fight. He has to be ready for a fight mentally in a week's time. So excuse him for coming out in the media and discussing his last loss, which, let's be fair, it must have been quite embarrassing for him. Excuse him for basically sitting there and saying that, no, you know what, the right version of me didn't show up, but the right version of me is going to show up against Pettis. Who knows? Like, who actually knows what level Cerrone is at the moment? Who actually knows what he's got left in the tank? Who knows what's going to happen next week against Pettis? But the point is, for Ariel Helwani, Ariel Helwani is an incredibly sensitive man. And he has had a fallout, quite a public fallout with Cerrone, which happened kind of months before the fight against Conor McGregor. And he takes these fallouts to heart. And I think if there's a negative about Ariel Helwani, it's that. It's how sensitive he is. And how he takes these things that fighters say to him or about him so personally. Do you know what I mean? Like I've been watching him, the way he's been operating on Twitter, bantering back and forth with Darren Till and Dylan Dennis and stuff like that. And I don't know whether it's just me reading too much into it, but when I see, you see when you're a kid, right? When you're a kid and you got involved in a cussing match or a cussing fight with your mate, you could always tell the person that was sensitive about it or kind of took things to heart too much when someone cussed them, said something about them, and rather than just saying something back, their first initial reaction is to say, oh, what you said is so stupid. It's stupid because of X, Y, Z, or oh, how unintelligent. Do you know what I mean? And that's what he does. Like, oh, I expected more from you. Like, if you go on his Twitter, you'll see it. And that's the hallmark of a guy that is taking it to heart, and rather than just saying lol and then coming back with his own cuss, he dwells on what the person said about him and tells that person why that was a stupid insult. And I'm not a psychologist, and I might be 100% wrong, but I'm just talking from experience, from when I was at high school, and when people were getting involved in cussing matches, and you could always tell the people that were getting like pent up about it, because they wouldn't just laugh and just cuss the person back. They'd have to say, oh, that's stupid, that didn't even make sense. Do you know what I mean? Them kind of people. And that's what Ariel Helwani's like. He gets too emotional about it. So where he's fallen out with Donald Cowboy Cerrone a while back, and to be fair, when they did fall out, I agreed with Ariel Helwani's opinion. So if you don't know, they fell out because at that time, Cowboy basically said something like, oh, it's Conor's world, I'm just living in it, I'd love to fight him. And Ariel Helwani's take was, that's not how you get a fight with Conor McGregor. You got to be more assertive. You got to show your worth. You got to say why you're going to beat him. You got to say why you want to fight him. You got to be more kind of, it's not Conor McGregor's world. It's your world. You got to tell him why you want to fight him without saying, oh, please, without effectively begging for a fight with Conor McGregor. And I agreed with him at the time. Cowboy took offense to it during that time period, and as far as I know, I don't know if they've ever spoken since. I don't know whether there's ever been an interview between the two since, but clearly they're not at the peak of their relationship at the moment. And I honestly believe that has a lot to do with why Ariel Helwani said what he did today. And that is, like, I'm a petty person, but I'm not that petty. Do you know what I mean? I'm not that sensitive. Like, fucking, like, don't be that sensitive. Chill out a little bit. It's not that deep. And no one was even saying that your take was wrong. And if people were saying your take was wrong, it was just trolls on Twitter. Chill out. Like, no one cares about them. Like, the platform you're choosing to say this thing on is basically a platform that only diehard fans listen to. I doubt there's many, if any, casual MMA fans that stumbled upon Ariel Helwani's Wednesday or Thursday podcast, where he kind of speaks to people within the combat sports industry, and they talk kind of actual kind of low level detail of fights and fight sports, etc. I doubt anyone in his audience for this podcast is just a casual fan or someone that trolled him on Twitter. Because the opinion he expressed at that time was the same opinion that we all had, if we know anything about the sport. So yeah, like, just fucking man up a little bit, man. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm a fan. I'll still keep watching everything that he does. I love the way he interviews people. A lot of the time, I listen to his opinion on different affairs in MMA. And I take on board what he has to say. I don't always agree with him. The same way with Luke Thomas, the same way with Josh Thompson or Big John McCarthy or Michael Bisping or anyone that I listen to. I'm not going to agree with 100% of what you say. You're not going to agree with 100%. If you're watching, you're not going to agree with 100% of what I say. But on this occasion, I just didn't feel I didn't feel like what he was gaining, apart from basically just having a little dig. Just having a little dig at not at the expense of Donald Cerrone, but I think he just wanted to react to Donald Cerrone saying that he didn't turn up, and I think I just didn't understand him inserting himself into the narrative. And to be fair, look, let's be honest, not a lot of people probably heard it. It's not really a story that people are going to run with. It's not really a big deal, to be honest. I just felt it was very petty, which is why I'm talking about it now. But anyway, definitely, if you like, have a listen to it, innit? Have a listen to it. I don't know if he uploads it on YouTube, but you can get it on your podcast apps. And you know what else you can get on your podcast apps? The Battle Camp podcast. So go in the description of this video, you'll see all the different links for different podcast applications, and you can pick the one that suits you best and download or follow or subscribe to the podcast and all of that good stuff. Write a review. Why don't you do that? Just write a review. I might write myself a review, actually, because I haven't got a review. I don't get very many listens, to be honest, but that's a different story. Anyway, let me know what you guys think. Put your comments below. Don't be scared to hit the like button. Share this with a friend if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. I've probably been wearing this hoodie. Like, I'm conscious of the fact that I wore this hoodie in the last video that I made, which was only yesterday. But full disclosure, I've been wearing this hoodie all week long. All week long. And the reason is I have a shower every day, and then after I've had a shower, I'll put on a new t-shirt after 2 or 3 days. Like, I'm not fucking posh, do you know what I mean? I'm not gonna wear a new t-shirt every single day. And then I'm just sitting around the house working from home, like, let me do some work. And then, like, it might get cold, and then I'll put the hoodie on for like an hour or two a day. So I reckon I've got enough. Like, if I only wear this an hour or two a day, I reckon I can go till like May 21st, 22nd, until it needs a wash. Anyway, I'm talking absolute nonsense now. I think that's it. I think I've said what I needed to say. So I'll catch you guys next time.